afternoon, evening, Danvers. My name is Gayla Bartlett, and welcome to a new edition of Lead On, where we talk to some wonderful community leaders. Today, I'm very excited. I have the wonderful Kim Driscoll with me, running for Lieutenant Governor. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
When I'm in Danvers, I think sometimes of like Greater Salem, North Shore, so I feel right at home.
No, absolutely. So it's great. I've been following your campaign. You have been everywhere. So one of my first questions is, you have to tell us how you got into politics. And just so you know, we're both Salem State alum.
Yay, go Vikings.
You got it. So I saw that. I was like, woohoo.
You know, I think I got into local government the way, frankly, a lot of candidates get in, particularly women candidates. You're sick and tired of sitting on the sidelines and feeling like you can make a difference. So I had the good fortune of going to Salem State. I interned in the city's planning department and really gave me a little understanding of what happens in local government, the value of local government, and frankly, how it can be transformational in people's lives. So I had a taste of that when I was in college, and then worked full-time for Salem and Beverly, but went to law school and then started private practice and didn't really think I'd be back in local government, but just had a calling, and the city of Chelsea hired me when they were coming out of receivership to be their legal counsel. I had always lived in Salem and felt like I could use the skill sets that I developed working in government to help the community I love, and I was considered a hometown even though I wasn't born in Salem. And I was fortunate to run for mayor and win, and I've been now reelected 5 times and feel really blessed to live in and lead such a special community for me and my family and so many others.
Right, and your children went to Salem Public Schools.
They did. I mean, I think that's part of, being in a community that you really care about, that, you're invested in it, like so many of us. And I think at that local government level, and you relate to this, Gayla, because you're somebody who is continually giving back to communities in other ways, maybe not with respect to serving in government, but, at the local level, it's like the branch of government you rely on the most, educating your kids, keeping your neighborhood safe, investing in those places you make memories. And I feel like that's part of the appeal for me as well. You can see a problem and you can solve it. You can make a meaningful impact. You can't always do that if you're, in a position that is in Washington, or, sometimes you're limited in what you can do, even when you're such a superstar helping out your community. And like being mayor has just been I love it. It's a blessing. It's a gift. But it's also an opportunity to use this experience, statewide too.
Absolutely. So you've been mayor for a long time now in Salem. You've done so much. I grew up in Salem. I went to Salem High, Salem State. That's right. Go Witches. You said go Vikings. Go everybody.
Go both. Go both.
Go both. But watching Salem thrive and grow since you've been mayor, now that we live in Danvers, but, being there and seeing all the changes. You have done so much that's been so instrumental to Salem and its growth and the community. So what would you say the top 3 things? I know you've done a lot, but the top 3 accomplishments so far that you're the most proud of?
When I became mayor in Salem, I ran because I thought the city could be better. Like we had these assets, we'd take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and I felt like we could open up government, make it more professional, and really communicate with people about why we want to make investments and why we need the private sector to make investments. So I think one of the things I'm really proud of is just the way we've made government more open and more transparent and invited people to get involved. Like in the past, people didn't necessarily serve on a border commission. They weren't sure how to apply or if anybody would even care. And what I'm struck by are the number of residents who have incredible talent, like talent that we couldn't afford to hire, architects, engineers, you name it, who are willing to give their time to serve on a border commission, or who, like, we have this wonderful collection of mostly women on the beautification committee who completely take care of the downtown, like really make Salem shine, and it's a really special kind of investment of what they like to do for our community. So opening up government, making it more transparent, allowing more people space at the table. We when I started, there were no Spanish-speaking firefighters in a city that has a pretty diverse population. So we've worked hard to make sure there was room for others and also welcomed in talent. You didn't have to be born in Salem to sort of contribute and give back. I think that'll be with us. I think the second thing that we're really excited about and continuing to see happen is just the investment in the waterfront. This is part of Salem's history. Like our prominence was tied to the water and the Great Age of Sail and clipper ships, leaving Salem, going to far off continents and Sumatra and the Far East and coming back and bringing great prominence and wealth to our community. But for a while, we kind of turned our back on the water. And so I was really pleased to start a ferry service. We now have a ferry service that goes back and forth. We've welcomed cruise ships. We had an old coal plant on the waterfront that is now, that whole area is now being poised for offshore wind. It'll be a major hub for, construction, marshaling, offshore wind. So really activating Salem Port, returning to our roots of, what made Salem a place that was world renowned. Yes, the witch trials, everyone knows that history, but the Great Age of Sail was pretty spectacular. First millionaire in America, hailed from Salem, and all that wealth was tied to the waterfront. So, we've got this opening of government, we've got this revitalization of the waterfront. I think the last thing, in my estimation, is just we've put in place a really solid team and a culture in City Hall that's always looking to continuously improve. And I think communities, as especially one with the assets that Salem has, and almost 400 years old, right? 2026, we'll be celebrating our quadricentennial. Like, you can't just get stuck in the one way of doing things. So, I think the culture that we have, we don't pick up trash the way we did 10 years ago. We don't solve crimes the way we did 10 years ago. We've really embraced, a willingness to try new things, to pilot a rideshare service, an on-demand rideshare service that is now given 65,000 rides, Salem Skipper. We've piloted some things that haven't worked as well. But we've learned a lot, and I think there are folks both in government, in boards and commissions, and frankly residents who kind of want us to be forward-thinking, cutting edge, willing to invest in new ways of doing business. And I think that's something that'll be here to stay no matter who serves in office, is that continuous learning model. Like, how can we do things better? Let's not get stuck in doing things the same way just because it's the way we've always done it.
One of the things I think is cute that you do, and it's a little off topic, and I know it's about Halloween, but trick-or-treating with the mayor. I think that is so cute. Michaela, when she was little, would actually trick-or-treat with you. So I just thought it was so cute. I was like, oh, look it, the mayor goes trick-or-treating. That's like the cutest thing.
One of the funnest nights of the year. That's called Mayor's Night Out. So we open up all the museums, all the attractions are free for Salem residents that night. And you can be a tourist in your own hometown. Like, who doesn't appreciate that? And our kids in Salem and those around who come participate, like, we get our full use of our costumes, right? We are dressing up for the parade, for Mayor's Night Out, and actual Halloween. We figured out how to make Halloween last 31 days in some ways.
Sometimes more than that.
Yeah, sometimes more than that. You're right. You're right.
And one of the cute things, and so Salem is not only rich in diversity and culture, but we have so many nonprofits in Salem.
We really do. I think there's a lot of connective tissue. People who care about the community. We saw it during COVID, where it was really useful to have not only like an active chamber, but a Main Streets program, a destination marketing organization. The Salem Partnership, which brings together business, nonprofits, and government, for larger vision. We were able to use the Enterprise Center, the incubating businesses. We were able to use all of that connective tissue to make sure we're reaching out to small business owners, deciding and working on what folks were telling us they needed, and then leveraging those partnerships to keep people in business and make sure they had the supplies that they needed, and that we were getting vital feedback in terms of how we could be helpful. And so it is a special place, and those are just the ones that are connected to business. We have youth service organizations, historical preservation groups. Every neighborhood has a neighborhood association, and so it is a place that people really care about. And I think that's where you see some of it in the nonprofit world, where people are really wanting to give back. It is coming from a sense of purpose,
and it's great because so many nonprofits are there, and it's like, oh, we're all in Salem. And the downtown is gorgeous. I have one question though about downtown. I didn't put this on my list, so. Going to throw her a bone here.
Boom.
The Elmies clock.
Yes.
Where beeth it? Is it ever coming back?
It's coming back. Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness.
I think it's coming back in July. They are refurbishing it. We worked with a resident of the Essex. Well, there's only a handful of people who actually do this sort of refurbishment for this particular type of clock, and we wanted to make sure it was done right. And they had to take it out, to do the work there. But it will be coming back. We're excited. We'll have a big celebration.
Oh, good.
I'm like, can we bring back the clock, and can we bring back Elmies? Because
I remember Elmies. Did you ever shop there?
It was gone a little bit before I arrived. But I mean, folks are definitely like the lunch counter. What you could get, right? The real elevator. You could get everything. Like, we're seeing this resurgence in downtowns. More urban, more walkable, and people want to actually shop downtown. So like a store like Elmies would be great right now.
I missed Elmies. That was my first real elevator ride. The lady would just open that beautiful door to the elevator. It was all magic.
Almies, Daniel Lowe's. I mean, Salem was a real shopping district, right? Like, there was no North Shore Mall
Empires,
then. Empires, sure. Yeah, Patty Ann's was in Salem.
We had a lot of
L.H. Rogers, Yeah, there were definitely a lot of retail places. And, we're seeing some of that coming back. Of course, people's behavior is different now. We're all using our phones and computers to buy things. But there is this need for some,
Cuteness.
some kind of, business that's boutique-y, some things that you need, some things that you may not need but you want, and we're excited to have like no vacant storefronts right now in Salem.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Everything is just gorgeous.
We're fortunate. That preservation of those historic buildings and repurposing them in a useful way. I benefit from people like Sam Zoll, the former mayor of Salem, and so many others who, and in the case of Sam, stopped the bulldozers during urban renewal. So many communities like knocked down all of their historic buildings and built an urban ring around the center of their community. It was a very common, way of responding to shopping malls and industrialization. And thankfully, there were predecessors who said, no, we're not going to do it that way. We're Salem, we're special. And that's been, so key to, our current success and certainly tourism and hospitality. We're now one of in the top 3 destinations for visitors in Massachusetts.
That's great.
And so that also is, an important part of keeping those stores and shops, in place when people are coming to visit a historic city.
Right. So now that you have all this background and you've worked so well with all your coalition of mayors, Lieutenant Governor.
Yeah.
Wow, that is, wow. You've got to tell, why?
I'm excited about this opportunity to take some of the experience from the local level and bring it to the State House. As someone who's been a mayor, on the front lines, from COVID response and recovery to trying to address the climate crisis to working on strengthening public schools and trying to keep your community affordable from a housing perspective, and dealing with infrastructure in a historic city with roads that were built for horse and buggy. There's no hiding. I'm on the front lines of those decisions. And I think a lot of our cities, especially cities like Salem, are a microcosm of the challenges we're facing at the state. And when I, think about the work that we do, you really need a strong state partner. Like every city, even a city with the assets of Boston, needs to have a strong state partner working in concert to resolve these challenges. And we're not going to do it unless there's action at the local level. And that's a language I love, one that I speak. So I'm hoping to partner with the next governor, bring this, I call get stuff done mentality. When you're a mayor, you've got to get stuff done. There's no Democrat or Republican pothole, right? It's just a pothole. You got to fix things. And you're making decisions for friends and neighbors, people you're going to see the next day.
Right.
I think it makes you a little bit more accountable. You tend to be a listener. You're trying to find solutions that, can address challenges that are in the best interest of your community. And I think that's a really important skill set to have in the governor's office. And, I'm looking forward to sort of rolling up my sleeves, partnering with our next governor in a way that can champion the work of communities. Because I do really believe that local government is the branch we all rely on the most, but it's got to work and work well. And we won't have a strong and vibrant and healthy Commonwealth without strong and healthy and vibrant cities. So I want to try and make sure we're thinking about that as we're thinking about state policy and resources and the power of convening on behalf of communities.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
I'm excited.
I'm excited. Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Your campaign has been exciting.
It's been fun. It's a big state when you got to get around it. There's so much collegiality around the North Shore. I feel like we're always in each other's backyards.
Right.
But you're in this role. I've been able to travel to places that aren't necessarily next door, and despite the distance, right? When you're in Western Mass or Central Mass or in the Southeast or the South Coast, you are also seeing similar challenges. Those places are also talking about housing and can young adults stay and live in the communities they grew up in. They're concerned about transportation. They may not be served by the MBTA, but they're concerned about their inability to get where they need to go. Those are places that want more economic prosperity. We just can't have economic prosperity happening in Kendall Square in the Seaport District. We need it in gateway cities across the Commonwealth. So there's a lot of similarities, a lot of work to do, and I think when I think about the opportunity to help, I'm really pumped.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, I think so.
So you have 3 children.
I do.
And
yeah.
I'm sure they're helping you campaign.
No, they are not.
They are not.
Well, they're active in their own lives, and I always want them to.
Go. Yep.
Yeah, they're 2 are in college, one's out,
wow.
so they've got things that they're working on.
Big
they're
things.
very supportive. They're
Good.
wonderful. And they help when they can, but for the most part, they've got their lives. I don't want them to feel like they have to do things.
They don't have to help
exactly.
mom win. She's got a whole.
Have you ever tried to make a 19-year-old do anything?
I have an 18-year-old, and she won't do anything I ask her to.
Right.
So I'm with you.
Right.
So what is the biggest takeaway you would like them to get from your campaign? I mean, as a mom, you're setting the stage for them. I mean, you've always been determined and ready to go and making change and doing what's right.
Yeah. I think our kids learn from us in those moments when it's not meant to be this teachable moment. They're just observing. And, I became mayor. My 3 kids were 3, 6, and 9.
Wow.
So they have really seen, I think, the work that goes on in the city. And they've also seen, the impacts when you have your mom who's the mayor, right? None of them want to go to the grocery store with me. They're like, it takes too long. You talk to people. I said, that's part of it. But I also see the power of being able to solve problems. I think they're really proud of the work we've done in local government. And they're also sometimes critics of why didn't this get done or that get done. So what I think is the most important part about having kids and being in this position is that they're engaged, and they know that engagement matters because they see, that coming from their mom, and they know how to get a pothole fixed. They know, oh, mom, you better call the lights out. They respond to me in ways that they're just used to seeing what I would do if I just drove by someplace, I saw something that needs to get fixed. How are we reporting it? And I think they're really engaged and understand that if you have people who care, you can make a difference. And so, I want them to do whatever moves their heart, makes them sing. But I do think they took away, oh, okay, you can see a problem and fix it, and you can make a difference in your community.
Which is perfect.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So one question, I'm sure you've asked this a lot. Roe versus Wade getting overturned. You were there at the protests and supporting everybody, and it's a huge step backwards for us.
Yeah. I think a lot of us are feeling like we woke up on Friday and the clocks were turned back 50 years.
What happened, right?
And it's a combination of absolute rage, frustration, anger, hurt, scared what is going to happen, and really feeling, like we just lost a whole lot of power, like control over your own body. And so I think my takeaway is, how do we channel all of that rage, that anger, that frustration, that fear into action? And gratefulness to live in Massachusetts. We live in a state, I love our bubble, right? In a state that really will step up and do the right thing, already is, to protect women's right to access an abortion, access contraceptives, make sure we're not rolling back rights in any arena, and actually serving as more of a sanctuary state that can welcome women and others who need care. But really feeling like we lost a lot of power in a Supreme Court that has now rolled back those rights, has rolled back rights on the EPA in terms of, the air quality that we all need to rely on. So, my takeaway is, if you want to see change, you got to vote.
Absolutely.
Got to get in these voting booths in places in Massachusetts and outside of them to really make a difference.
So September's the date, right?
September 6th is Election Day.
Yep.
Love everyone to get registered, come ready to vote. It's the Tuesday after Labor Day, so it's a little tough time when people may be away. But we do have early voting that'll start up the last week in August. So there's lots of ways for people to get engaged. Grateful to be endorsed by Planned Parenthood, who I think really recognizes that it's there's no time that we can waste with respect to making sure we're electing people who are going to be strong pro-choice candidates stepping up on these actions, on this and so many others. And I'm grateful when, like I said, when you're a mayor, you have to be a doer. There's no hiding. You've got to get stuff done.
Right.
And we're going to need that in the State House.
Absolutely. And you've been endorsed by several.
Feel really fortunate. We've got over 200 endorsements, from local officials, state officials, trade unions, labor. So it's been a really strong effort, but it's not, the most important endorsement is the voter in the voting booth.
Absolutely.
So we need that September 6th, and working hard to try and make sure that we're talking with as many people as we can, and that we're listening as well. I think that's one of the benefits that I take away from local government is we have to solve problems, and a lot of that starts with listening, and that obviously leads to action, and that's what I'm hoping to do.
And your website, do you want to tell people your website is?
Yeah, you can go to kimdriscoll.org. Pretty simple to get more information, to get involved. We're always looking for volunteers.
Right.
It's really fun to be involved in a campaign, particularly in one that I think, we try and make it, volunteer work for what folks want to do, from canvassing to calls to really just being in a position to help support administrative functions. And lots of marriages have started on campaigns. Lots of young adults have gotten experience on campaigns.
Oh, absolutely.
So I've worked on them throughout, years before I was an elected official, and I've always enjoyed believing in a candidate or an issue and being able to help. So
it's huge.
Yeah, we welcome it.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me on.
Watching your campaign, I'm so exciting.
It's always great to be in a place where you feel at home, and I certainly do in Salem on the North Shore. So thanks for having me here. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Well, thank you so much. Everybody today got a more personal look at Kim Driscoll as we cheer her on for her campaign. If you want to see more about her, you can go to her website, like she said, and learn all that excitement. So thank you so much, Danvers. We look forward to seeing you next time where we'll meet more community leaders. Take care.